Motion is the change of position relative to a chosen reference as time passes. That sentence may sound plain, but every word carries weight. Position requires a coordinate system. Change requires comparison. Time provides the ordering. Remove any one of these, and the idea stops working. This explains why the question, "Is it really moving?" leads nowhere. Really compared to what? Compared to the ground? Compared to the sun? Compared to the center of the galaxy? Each answer produces a different number, and none of them cancels the others. This is where everyday intuition breaks down. When a plane cruises smoothly, motion fades from awareness. No special sensation announces speed itself. Only changes in motion, starts, stops, turns, make themselves known. The body responds to acceleration, not motion alone. That observation turns out to be a deep clue. It suggests that motion is less about where something is going and more about how its state changes. Speed becomes secondary. Relationships take center stage. What matters is consistency between descriptions, not a privileged viewpoint. Once you see motion this way, it stops being a simple idea and starts acting like a principle that organizes all of mechanics. Daily experience suggests that motion should announce itself. Something moving should feel different from something at rest. Yet constant motion produces no internal signal. A smoothly moving train, plane, or spacecraft behaves the same way as one sitting still, provided no turns or speed changes occur. Physics does not find this surprising. Common sense does. What stands out instead are changes in motion, sudden starts, sudden stops, curving paths. Those events create sensations, forces, and measurable effects. The body responds to acceleration, not to motion itself. That distinction explains a great deal. Early thinkers believed motion required continuous effort. If pushing stopped, motion should fade away. That belief felt obvious because friction is everywhere in ordinary life. Floors, air, roads, and materials constantly interfere. Once friction is accounted for, the picture changes. Remove interference, and motion persists on its own. Force enters the story only when motion changes, when speed increases, decreases, or direction bends. From the viewpoint of physics, motion is not something that must be maintained. It is something that must be altered. This is why the laws of motion are written the way they are. They describe how changes occur, not how motion exists. They focus on acceleration because acceleration reveals interaction. It tells you when something external is acting. At a fundamental level, motion is the natural behavior of objects. What feels like rest is simply a shared motion between you and your surroundings. Once this idea is accepted, many familiar puzzles dissolve. Why does a dropped object fall straight down inside a moving vehicle instead of landing behind you? Because it already shares the vehicle's motion before it is released. No invisible push is required to keep it moving forward. Motion continues unless something interferes. Motion, inertia, and force are not separate topics. They are different ways of talking about how change is constrained. Inertia describes resistance to change. Force describes interaction that produces change. Motion describes how position evolves when change occurs or does not occur. Together, they form a single story about how the universe manages change without contradiction.